Welcome to another Rooster Talk. Today I've got Scott Williamson here from Blackstone giving us an update on how things are going in Vietnam. Welcome, Scott. How's things been going?
Yeah, thanks, Noel. Yeah, it's been good. We grabbed that money from Echo Pro at the premium, so 6.8 million at 17 cents. It took the market a little while to wake up to that investment, and it traded under that raise price for a while. But we woke the market up with some great massive sulfide intercepts, and so all good on that front. We're starting to sort of definitely get some more traction in the market. It's always good when you put out the shiny rocks. The punters tend to follow the shiny rocks. So it's great to be finally recognised for what we've got up in northern Vietnam.
I guess the market's buoyant for everybody. I see your share price is done quite well. What's capital market saying? I mean, in these tough times, new times, whatever we want to call it, what are the capital markets saying at this point in time?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Obviously, the markets were closed during that COVID period, and when we actually did the Echo Pro deal, that was probably the toughest I've seen in a long time. And now, very quickly, we've moved into some of the better markets I've seen for a very long time as well. So it's been a really quick turnaround, and so we're seeing great access to capital. It's really a lot of new interest from firms that we'd never dealt with before, and so it's great to see that the capital markets are open, and it's a great time to be in junior mining again, it's been probably 10 years since there's been anything like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm noticing things too. People are calling us up, chasing projects, and there's a bit more appetite, I guess, in actually wanting to be in this sector, in the resource sector, not just gold or any particular commodity. I mean, it helps when you've got some good intercepts coming from your drilling. Those kind of sort of long intercepts is actually must be very encouraging for you guys.
Yeah, it's with the markets, it's obviously gold's leading the way, but we think that there's a real opportunity to sort of, I suppose, take profits out of some of your gold investments and maybe throw them into some of these base metals opportunities like ourselves. But what we're seeing is big, broader widths than we expected. So this is at Ban Phuc. We were expecting about a 2 or 3 meter wide vein, and we're hitting up to 15 meter wide intersections. So big, bulky, broad widths and good grade. So we've got the nickel, copper, good cobalt as well, platinum, palladium. So you bulk all that out, you add in those byproducts, you've got a significant mine on your hands here with Ban Phuc, and still hitting really good numbers over at the King Cobra discovery zone as well. So yesterday we put out 47 metres at 1% nickel from 60 metres. So shallow, high grade, disseminated sulfide over at the King Cobra zone. So we've got Ban Phuc adding that sort of new aspect of high grade and massive sulfide, and we've got the existing excitement around the King Cobra discovery zone, which is ongoing as well. So we're just going to keep chasing that one down at depth.
Is the chemistry something that you guys are expecting? Is it consistent with your thinking, or are you getting surprises coming up?
Yeah, it isn't consistent, and there's definitely surprises. So the mix of copper to cobalt to PGEs seems to be different from Ban Phuc to Ban Phuc. So Ban Phuc was fairly low on the copper and the cobalt, and had an okay credit for PGEs, whereas Ban Phuc's very strong on copper and cobalt, and also very strong on the PGE. So that mix of the different metals does change, and that tells us that we're potentially dealing with separate intrusions. So these have all come from larger intrusions at depth. There's one theory that they've come from maybe one intrusion, or I think it's more likely that we've got a number of different intrusions, and maybe each of those 25 targets we've got may come from separate intrusions. So we've got a lot of exploration ahead of us, but each looks like each ore body is slightly different from a chemistry and metal content perspective.
Are you thinking that the whole mix, the whole project is moving away from nickel as a primary target, or it's going to help you with when you're actually mining it, all the credits, different credits coming from different metals?
That's a good question. What we're seeing is nickel will always be the majority revenue driver. So if we look at the bulked out grade at Ban Phuc, roughly at the moment is about 1% nickel, 1% copper, and 1 gram per ton in the platinum, palladium plus gold. So that ratio, which is, it sounds, I suppose, like we might be moving away from nickel. It's not. It's still over 50% or around 50% is nickel. And then you've got copper and is around 20%, and then your platinum and your palladium and your gold around 20%, and then you've got other metals in there as well. So it's still going to be majority nickel. But the great part about that is if you've got strong credits like copper and the precious metals, then you can ride out any movements in nickel price, because nickel moves very volatile over cycles. So you can push this sort of asset through any cycle, because if nickel's not performing, one of these other metals is probably going to be performing. So at the moment, palladium's strong. Copper's actually bounced really well out of the virus period, and so it allows you to ride through cycles because you've got that I suppose hedge against the volatility of nickel.
Yeah, I guess I mean, what the positive is obviously what we've just discussed. You're going to get credits, and that's going to add to the mixer thing. I guess a lot of people might be thinking, okay, you have that positive. Are any of these metals going to create an issue for you when you're mining? Is anyone's going to be that thorn in the side?
No, not from a mining perspective, but obviously being an ex-mining engineer, it's all about just moving rock. So we blow the rock up, and we send it to the mill. The mill has to deal with it. The way that the mill deals with it, or the concentrator, they'll float the whole thing as a bulk con. So all the metals come in sulfide form, so they all float up, and so that's a bulk concentrate with all the metals in it. And then the downstream has to deal with it separately. So each metal will go through a different stream in the downstream process. So the precious metals will be in the leach residue of the autoclave. So we throw the whole bulk con through the autoclave. The leach residue, which is the leftover, is where the precious metals will capture, and we can take them further from there. There'll be 2 trains coming through the autoclave. You'll have a battery product, which will be nickel and cobalt, and you'll also have a base metals product, which will have copper, and there's probably a bit of zinc in there as well. But so copper will be stripped out for its own product, but the nickel and the cobalt will stay together for the battery.
Okay. So by the sound, I mean, you're not going to get a deal in one of these metals like some of the other projects around.
We will have a number of different products here, and we will have to deal with different, I suppose, the demand for those different products. So we'll have to manage that.
Okay. I mean, we know the resource industry is doing well, and pricing are probably likely going to be on the positive side as opposed to the negative side. I mean, we touched on this before. The fact that I love the fact that you guys are in the where you are in your region. That's where these things are happening. All these tensions that we're hearing, the US Chinese thing, is that going to be an issue for you guys?
I think obviously the demand for the electric vehicle is bigger than just a China movement. This is a global movement towards greener energy and cleaner cities. So obviously the US-China relationships is a major macro, I suppose, consideration. But I think what's really interesting for us is that Vietnam will be one of the major beneficiaries of the virus and the movement of value chains away from China. So there's already this sort of movement of factories and value chains from China, particularly because we've got lower labour costs, and we've got hydro grid power, and we've got a great location up in northern Vietnam. But there's also this movement away from value chains being through China. And so we see Vietnam as one of the biggest beneficiaries of that movement. And so, yeah, we're in a strong position from that perspective, but we believe that the EV demand and a lot of this stimulus will go into strategies that are focused on sustainable and green or clean energy future.
I've talked. I mean, it's interesting you said that, because I've talked to a few people, and they talk about this decoupling from the Chinese demand, or the surge in demand in the previous decades that we've had. You know, and the fact that there's a bit of nervousness on that side. Do you think that's going to impact on where you are and what you're supplying? I mean, in terms of, you know, EV is going to be the next big thing. There's no doubt about that. Do you think that decoupling could actually be advantageous to the likes of yourself, where you're not hoping to be, you know, stuck with the Chinese demand?
Yeah, so already, I suppose, in a way, where we are focused on demand that's coming from South Korea. So some of these other big Asian sort of powerhouse countries are going to sort of, I suppose, be a major part of the future for Australia and other countries. But so we're already, I suppose, in a way decoupled from China. We're focused on partners in South Korea, and we see that's the future of the lithium-ion battery industry is not just in China but in South Korea and Japan. At the moment, we're very focused on South Korean battery end users. So yeah, I suppose the Chinese decoupling, I suppose, yeah, is definitely evident in our strategy.
In terms of exploration, I guess there's that traveling issue. I mean, I know you got a team already on the ground doing all the exploration work. What's the next step for you guys? I mean, are you going to drill this out and get resource, and what's the steps going forward?
Yeah, so the Ban Phuc, the first ore body which we've been drilling for the last 12 months, which includes the King Cobra discovery zone, we're due to announce that maiden resource this quarter. That maiden resource will need to be updated and upgraded with all the further drilling that's still ongoing. So we're still trying to find the bottom of the King Cobra discovery zone. We've now got the Ban Chang prospect where we're throwing 2 rigs at. We're going to drill that out as quick as possible. So we're hoping an updated resource which will include Ban Chang and further King Cobra drilling later in the year. But in the meantime, we want to deliver the scoping study this quarter, and the scoping study outlines to the market exactly what that Ban Phuc looks like from an economic perspective. Most likely it's going to be a large open pit mine, and then but not only showing what that looks like from a mining and concentrator perspective, but also then pushing that all the way through to a downstream product. And so the other key thing is that defines us and I suppose, is the fact that we can go to a downstream product with our partner EcoPro, and we can get a premium to the nickel price. So most of our peers will be selling concentrate, and they will have a discount to the nickel metal price. With our partner EcoPro, we can deliver premium batteries into the lithium-ion industry for the electric vehicle revolution. I believe there's no one else in the market that can actually say that they're going to do that.
All right. Do you foresee any hurdles, speed bumps coming up, you know, according to what your plans are?
Yeah, so funding's always something that is a key risk, but that's minimised by the fact that we've got EcoPro there, big balance sheet, they're ready to throw more money at this. The other key risks, obviously, technically, we need to look at, okay, well, what does that downstream process look like? So we're looking at a process which is called the pressure oxidation process. This is a tried and tested technology used all through the industry. It's the first time it's actually been done on a nickel concentrate. So there'll be elements around that, but it's the same as putting a gold sulfide ore body through an autoclave. It is the same as what we'll be doing with nickel. So that is a tested and tried technology that's been used all through the mining industry. So, but there is always technical risk around that. The other one is permitting. So permitting is something that is a risk wherever you go in the world. We are starting that permitting process as we speak. So we think that that's a 12 to 18 month process to get a mine permitted in northern Vietnam. And there's a very structured process there that is ongoing, and we're very happy that we can do that. So the previous owners have already permitted the tailings facility, the concentrator, the underground mine. So it can be done, and it can be done efficiently. And so we're starting that process now.
I mean, I've been a big champion of your project and things. I think it's an ideal. I mean, project's always about where you are, what products you are, and I think strategically located. The strategic location is actually quite critical in getting the product out as well. When you look at where you guys are, I mean, I know you guys got a big project, big landmass. Are they sort of potential for, you know, getting another project similar to yours close by to add to future inventory?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've probably got enough in our current portfolio, like the Ta Khoa project, 25 targets. So we've got enough to get onto, but we're always looking. So one of Patrick's roles, so I've just brought in Patrick Chang, Corporate Development Officer. One of his roles is to look at other opportunities too, because our partner EcoPro needs more nickel than we'll ever be able to find in one ore body and one nickel sulfide system. So we do need to look at, okay, well, how can we feed this EV revolution? And so we're always looking. There are other opportunities in country, but it's more about like, okay, well, maybe we can bring in concentrate from Australia or the US or Canada. So there's nickel concentrate in the market right now that is not in offtakes. So we can potentially access that, and because we have a premium product, we can be more competitive than our nickel stainless steel peers. So if someone's only getting paid the nickel metal price, we can be very competitive because we have a premium product that is a value add product on nickel metal. So we will look at, okay, opportunities. Maybe we're in the market for concentrate as well.
Okay. To put you on the spot, Scott, you know, that nickel price that everyone's, you know, looking at closely, what's your prediction? Where do you think this is going to go? 5 years, 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah, I don't like the short-term ones. I'm glad that you asked for the medium term. So 3 to 5 years, I'm pretty confident we're heading into the $20,000 per tonne type range. And I think that's the incentive price to, I suppose, initiate the investment into the nickel laterite space. I believe that we still need these nickel laterites to feed into the demand coming from the electric vehicle. Those nickel laterite mines won't be built at the current nickel price. So we need to incentivize big billion-dollar capex spends into nickel laterites, and so that will happen around $20,000 a tonne. So without the nickel laterites, we don't have an EV revolution. So that incentive price around circa 20,000 is probably where it needs to be in the next 3 to 5 years. Otherwise, we don't have an EV revolution, and there'll be I suppose, focus from the battery end users towards potentially trying to substitute nickel out. So we actually need the nickel price to do those sorts of numbers, 20,000 and above. Otherwise, there is no EV revolution.
Okay. I guess you know, to round off, you know, if he has this opportunity to talk to a shareholder or potential shareholders, what would you say to them in terms of, you know, buy some BSX shares? You know, what your killer sell?
Yeah, what I will say is that I believe we're sitting on what looks like it could be a world-class nickel sulfide district. We're in year one of potentially a 20 to 30 year opportunity here. We're in good geology. So if you look at what's happened with Steve Parsons at Bellevue Gold, so Bellevue is a great example of when you're in good geology, it performs and it surprises to the upside. So we're in good geology, it's going to surprise to the upside. We've got the demand coming, so there's a demand story here. But I think that one of the key things that we've got is that partner. we've got the partner already with the big balance sheet that's going to allow us to minimise dilution of our shareholders. So we will be, as major shareholders ourselves, as board management, we'll be very focused on making sure we minimise dilution to the existing shareholders through using our partner's balance sheet to rebuild this mine.
All right, Scott. Thank you for your time as usual. Always glad to get some good updates from yourself. I won't take any more of your time. Again, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks, Noel, and thanks, Samso, for all the support over the journey. So yeah, really great to have you guys, and yeah, have a good weekend.
Yep, you too. Thanks, mate.